Well, a general election is happening today in Ireland, and our story producer, Alan Regan, has found a couple of ties to BC politics and the Irish community here in this province, and he joins us to tell us all about that and everything else that's going on. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Stephen.
I was particularly interested in this because I thought we could see a change of government in Ireland, but we'll talk about that. Just give us a quick primer, though. What is happening exactly?
Voters are electing the members of Ireland's next national parliament, and coalition governments are the norm because the country uses proportional representation. And there are three parties likely to be in the mix when the votes are counted. Voters could return the current centre coalition, led by two parties, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. And the other party that could lead a coalition is the current official opposition, Sinn Féin.
All right. And you have been working to find some ties to BC politics. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've covered politics in Ireland and here in BC. And, you know, there was one moment in this campaign where I just saw history repeating itself. Okay, cast your mind in BC back to 2017 and the election we had here. Remember when Christy Clark walked into a grocery store in North Vancouver and this happened?
Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
Linda.
Linda, nice to meet you.
I never vote for you because of
You don't
what-
have to.
Yeah.
That's why we live in a democracy.
Yeah, thank goodness.
That was a 10-second interaction between Christy Clark and a voter at a grocery store in North Vancouver during that 2017 campaign. It went viral and it spawned the, remember the I Am Linda hashtag?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, turns out there's something about grocery stores because last week in Ireland, something happened. We call the Prime Minister the Taoiseach, which means chief in our wonderful Irish language. And right now, that's the Fine Gael leader, Simon Harris. So he went into a grocery store in County Cork last week and he was stopped by a disability care worker. The Disability Federation of Ireland says a lack of support from government is keeping thousands of people with disabilities in poverty. And this care worker has seen this firsthand and decided to pause the Taoiseach in his tracks. RTE News had a camera there and they captured the 40-second interaction. Here's just some of it.
We were ignored.
No, stop.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were.
Okay, we can take it
And the
now when you-
disability sector is a joke. You've done nothing for us. Our people are suffering. I'm very passionate about my job.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about disability too.
But there's been no mention in the budget whatsoever. You ignored them. You ignored the
No,
carers.
that's not true to say that.
Yes, you do.
That's not
It
true.
has not been mentioned.
That's not-
Keep shaking hands, pretend you're a
But if
good
you-
man. You're not a good man.
And at that point, Simon Harris just walks away.
Well, I'm not dispensing political advice, but don't argue with constituents.
And, you know, don't try and shake their hand awkwardly and, you know, all that kind of stuff when
Yeah.
they're clearly not in the mood for it. This clip has been seen millions of times
Wow.
since RTE News published it. Just 2 weeks ago, Fine Gael had a 6-point lead in a poll by Ipsos and Behaviour and Attitudes. Now that's gone and they're in a statistical tie with Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin.
Wow.
All three of these parties are on 19 to 21%. And that flashpoint that we just heard got a lot of airtime in that period.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. And that interaction, I mean, it touches on some of the key issues that people are considering as they go to the polls. I guess, well, I mean, a lot of them are the same as what we have been seeing here.
Totally. And I mean, and in Ireland's case, you know, there's this perception that the country is awash with cash. And
Tech
I
money.
mean, there's no question. I mean, there is a corporate tax boom in Ireland. US multinationals are drawn to the country. It's the only country in the European Union where English is almost everybody's first language. It's a highly educated country where fees for university education are comparatively very low. But that does not mean that people feel this economic prowess in their pockets. There's a couple of examples that I like to give to people in BC, and usually it makes their eyes widen. In Ireland, a visit to a GP costs you close to $100 Canadian. You can go for free if you're under 8 or over 70, and there's pledges in this campaign to expand that age range, but most people will have to pay to go to their doctor. Health insurance is on average $2,500 Canadian a year, according to figures this year from Ireland's Health Insurance Authority. And the standard rate of sales tax, we're talking about a GST holiday here in BC.
Yeah.
In Ireland, the standard rate of sales tax is 23%.
Oh, my gosh.
Add to that high energy costs, high childcare costs, and all the other challenges of this era. And these, for sure, are key campaign issues.
Okay. And what about the Irish community here in Vancouver? I mean, we have a lot of Irish expats in the city, a very large Irish diaspora. Where do they come in the campaign?
Yeah, they came up in the TV debate on RTE this week. And we just heard that clip of Simon Harris. So this TV debate was seen by observers as a key moment to try and regain that ground that he's been losing and Fine Gael have been losing in the campaign. But the topic of emigration came up. It's re-emerged as this part of Irish life after the economic crash in 2008. I guess people like myself decided we'd get by more easily if we ventured abroad. Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald challenged the Taoiseach, Simon Harris, about that, and here is that exchange.
We have never been wealthier. We've never had resources like
Why
this
is that?
before. And people still feel poor. And our young people in particular are voting with their feet and they're leaving
Simon
because
Harris,
they
come in
don't
there.
believe they're getting a fair
No,
start
I'm
here.
going to get people's children back from Australia. That's what my entire reason for getting into politics is, making sure that we have a country for young people.
That pledge to get your children back from Australia. It has spawned memes. Some people online suggesting that it sounds a bit more like a threat than a promise. But I mean, there's no question that immigration has been hard on people and hard on families, and little wonder then that it came up in that TV debate.
But the one in Van Diemen's Land can stay there. And the Irish community here, because I know, I mean, as we said, there's a huge Irish community here. Can they vote?
No.
They're Irish citizens, though.
But you have to be on site at your polling station to actually cast your vote, apart from a few exceptions. And, you know, so that means, like, let's say, okay, take my case here.
Yeah.
I got my Canadian citizenship in September. And when I voted in BC's election last month, that was my first time voting in more than 10 years.
Wow. Because you've been in Canada for that 10 years and you have not been able to vote in Irish elections.
That's correct, yeah. And I mean, this is an issue. I mean, there's been this long-running campaign to extend the vote to Irish people living abroad. Advocates say that the current rules disenfranchise the very people most impacted by the policies that force them to move abroad in the first place. But one big counter-argument to that is that the Irish diaspora is so big, it's kind of unclear where you would actually set a limit so as not to completely override the existing electorate of 3.5 million people thereabouts. But in any event, the Irish community will be watching this election closely here in Vancouver, and because voters rank their preferred candidates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, the count will take days. And to give you a flavour, RTE's live television coverage is on the air for 17 hours tomorrow.
All right.
And then they come back again for more on Monday. And I mean, that's great if you love these kind of things. There's plenty of TV to watch.
That's right. And the poor presenters must just be, sweaty and unshaven. Much
There
like
until
ourselves
3,
on
4.
election night. We complain about sitting in a chair for 6 hours. All of this, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, here we are, an election 7,000 kilometers away, so many similarities. And I mean, I think it's a good reminder, because I've heard the debates and they're about things like, nobody can afford housing, childcare, high interest rates, people moving to Australia, and here it's Alberta. I mean, there's the strikingly similar situations.
There is this huge overlap. Yeah, the cost of living, the cost of rent, young people leaving, healthcare, and immigration is featuring in this election in Ireland in ways that it hasn't before. And at the end of it all, parties are going to have to find a way to work together, and leaders are already refusing to cooperate with other parliamentarians. So lots to compare, and the proximity of BC's election last month and now this election in Ireland. I mean, for observers like myself, those similarities just become all the clearer.
All right. And to be clear, I was the one who was really, really hot about this story and asked you to do this, just for the record, that you're not,
Well, you've got your Irish connection as well, Stephen. So lots of interest.
Yes. Alan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephen.
That is CBC News story producer Alan Regan. He is, of course, an associate producer. Officially welcoming Alan to the team on
Thank
the
you,
early
Stephen.
edition this week. So there.
It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. There are cookies, by the way, in your honor, and some brack. So there.
You know where I'm going. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.